welcome to the second episode in our special edition of Transformation Conversations 2022. I'm Joe Spatarella, Chief Client Success Officer for Prolific Banking. With me, as always, is our founder and president of Prolific Banking, Scott Graf. Hey, Scott.
Hello.
So again, we're very excited to bring you the second episode in our streaming data series. This one, we're going to focus on enabling real-time payments. As we mentioned in the prior episode, we think that this is order of magnitude, advancement in terms of the ability to move data and integrate data and automate data processing. And as we move into this new environment of real-time payments, we think what goes along with that hand in hand is the need for real-time data. So, with that, let's kind of jump right in on the payment side. Scott, can streaming support both inbound and outbound real-time payments?
Absolutely. And as we talked about in our last episode at a bit of a geek level, sorry about that. But you can think of streaming as an always-on flow of information. So any consumer of the data can also be a producer of the data, given the correct entitlements and security, of course. So really, I'm simply publishing the transaction on the wire, and better yet, more of the instruction on the wire, right? Then a multitude of consumers can choose to act upon the published event. And this can range from fraud systems all the way to settlement activity.
Great. So there's been a lot done with payment hubs as a way to sort of centralize multiple payment methods and, bring all of those together, do data transformation and integrate into various payment platforms. How do streaming services fit into this and in the context of, I guess the philosophical question is, if you have the ability to stream, do you still need a payment hub, or do you only need certain functions of a payment hub?
Right. That could be a slippery question, Joe. Well, if we use the definition of a payment hub as an abstraction for messages brokered to what you call the payment rail, you have a few fun things to overcome, right? Like all types of transaction processing, the devil's in the details. Each rail has its nuances, rules, exceptional conditions, and the like. So for a payment hub, you still have the sending platform, right, that needs to configure, format, workflow the instructions for processing. The APIs make the transmission of that information a bit easier because there's a common method of communication, but there's still a lot of integration that needs to be written and implemented. You're never going to get around the method of payment workflows, right? Nor do you even want to. But providing a simple message format without the nuances of directly coding to APIs, that is really the cat's meow, right? So now the mapping and transformation and rules can be applied and, dare I say, enhanced or one-offed exceptionally without messing around with system, with the system initiating the actual payment. And I've had to write to some of these hubs before, so I've been in those trenches. So yeah, our bank partner doesn't really want to have to bother with the how or what system. And a customer wants, they want to initiate a transaction, so really we are, the transformation and processing of the message with dynamic workflows. So plus as a bank, I have a way to be far more flexible to bring on and deliver new capabilities with payments that are profitable if I have that layer of abstraction.
Sure. And just for clarity's sake, you have to still presume that the bank has the ability to connect to each one of those rails, be it, FedWire, ACH, FedNow, RTP, and the like. So,
right. And they all have their different protocols and connection points.
Exactly. Yep. And on that point, what industry standards and formats are supported within streaming?
Yeah, really all. Right. So, the key here is with the streaming and being able to, broker transaction instructions to many different types of payment platforms with different formats and connections types, just like we talked about. having the flexibility to unbind the bank customer from the rigors of formats and standards. Yes, messages still need to be valid, but it's not about the format. It's about, and frankly, it's always been about the data. So, we have all witnessed the difficulty of integrations with formats, validations, customers sending files. Oh my, it completely gets in the way of business and makes doing business with banks difficult and or too costly. And, why do we think all the fintechs are sprouting up right now?
Sure. So a minute ago, I talked about, the connections to various payment rails, and that's really the payment processing system. So based on your comments, it sounds like streaming can be integrated with those payment processing systems.
Yeah. They can, of course, and obviously we strongly encourage it. The neat part is you can keep your heavily invested solutions that you have in place today. And you can also change them out because you have that level of abstraction. So these processing systems range from older, like we were talking about, like 16-byte word socket connections to batch ACH, right, up to the real-time ISO processors. Again, once you have the flow of information, it's customer and bank systems connecting, mapping, transforming data, and providing dynamic workflows that enable financial institutions to become more efficient. And not just more efficient, with their IT systems, and then being able to provide an easy way or an easy method for customers to connect directly, and letting the bank business focus on delivering profitable capabilities.
Sure. And there's been a lot of talk of late about the ISO 20022 standard. And how that really lends itself to more data automation. What's your view on that?
As it exists insofar as protocols, right? So there's a protocol, there's a message format, and there's a flow. As these things evolve, and they always evolve, you have data and you have workflow that maps around that data. So being able to effectively transform as well as apply workflow to support what those protocols and formats and standards support, that's going to be key. And you're not going to want to have to go retool and recode and do all sorts of fun things around that in order to meet the standard or the ever-evolving standard.
Sure. No, that makes sense. So really, to our viewers, if you have more questions about this or need more information, please let us know. You can get us just at info@prolificbanking.com. We urge you to look on our website, prolificbanking.com, at our new product, our new service called FI Streams. Which is leveraging streaming technology. So it's not an abstract concept we're talking about here. It's something we can actually do today. So, but thank you again for watching. If you're watching on LinkedIn, please feel free to leave us questions or comments. Again, we encourage you to look on our blog at prolificbanking.com. But thanks so much for viewing. Thank you, Scott. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.
Take care.